Yo, what's going on, guys? Hayden Croy here with another one for you. This week we've got somewhat of a different video for you. We're not going to be out in the car at all. We're just going to be actually talking about tuners. And in today's video, we're actually just going to be covering which tuner might be best for you. It's definitely not a cut and dry thing. It's really based off personal preference and what you're looking for out of your car. But today we're going to be breaking down prices, horsepower, and just kind of my personal opinions. I personally only have experience with two of these companies. Well, technically like 2.5, I guess you could say. But nonetheless, let's go ahead and hop right into this video. So to start off, we're going to be starting off talking about your flash it and forget it style tunes. So that's going to be your integrated engineering and Unitronic. We are only going to be focusing on the four main tuners in my eyes for our platform, and that's going to be Unitronic, integrated engineering, equilibrium tuning, and SneekyTuned. That is the ones that we're going to be diving into today. Obviously, I know there is other tuners out there, but I just kind of picked the four biggest names out of the business right now. Obviously, APR is trying to make their way back into our platform with that new turbo setup that they've released and everything like that. But nonetheless, they don't even offer a downpipe anymore. You can't go stage 2 with APR, so that's why we're not going to be covering them. Let's start off with integrated engineering. Integrated engineering is a flash it and forget it style tune. It's going to be just like Unitronic, but integrated engineering tends to be a little bit more fine-tuned and a little bit more powerful. So off a stage 1 tune for a GTI, you're going to be getting, they claim 310 horsepower, and keep in mind this is to the crank, okay? This is not 310 wheel horsepower, that's 310 horsepower to the crank, and that is on an IS20 turbo. If you're driving a Golf R or an S3 and you have the IS38, then you can expect 359 horsepower. So the difference between crank horsepower, wheel horsepower, one's to the crankshaft, one's all the way to the ground. So you obviously have some drivetrain loss and everything like that whenever you are going from the crank to your wheels. That is their stage 1 numbers. Stage 2, they're claiming 327 horsepower for the GTI. They claim 406 horsepower for the Golf R. So those are not bad numbers, don't get me wrong, that is to the crank. So Golf R, you can take a little bit higher percentage of the drivetrain loss just since it is an all-wheel drive platform versus a front-wheel drive, front engine platform that's gonna have pretty minimal drivetrain loss, but nonetheless still will have some drivetrain loss. So that's not what you're gonna be seeing if you go get your car on a dyno or anything like that, but you should see, 10-15% shy of that. Let's talk about price for integrated engineering. So these flash it and forget it style tunes, they seem like they're more expensive based off their pricing, but in the end, you don't have to buy the cob access port. So that is one thing to keep in mind, although you do have to buy their own cable. Integrated engineering, if you want to be able to flash car at the house, you're going to have to buy their cable, which is going to be $150. That is going to give you access to be able to use your laptop and actually flash the tunes to your car. So that's something that you're going to need. On top of that, stage 1 tune from them is going to be $550, okay? And a stage 2 tune from them is going to be $650. Now, if you're going stage 1 to stage 2, you only have to pay the difference. And that is the nice thing about these companies. They don't try and roast you over the fire or anything like that. They realize that they already charged you $600, they're only gonna charge you another $100 or whatever it is. And as far as their DSG or TCU tunes go, it is a flat $600. That's what it's going to cost. In total though, if you were to have a DSG car, so you need that transmission tune, and you also are obviously going to be tuning the ECU as well, if you were to take that route, it's going to cost you in total $1,400. But right now they are running a sale. So I'm not exactly sure what percentage sale they're running, but nonetheless, you can save yourselves a couple $100 right now if you were to go full setup with integrated engineering for tunes. And if you're manual and you don't need a TCU tune, you can actually get an integrated engineering ECU file with their flash tune or with their connect cable and everything like that. Forget the exact name for it, but with their cable to be able to flash that for right around $800, and that is going to the stage 2. So whenever I'm going to be giving these total prices, this is all going to be off stage 2 or the more expensive option. So now let's talk about Unitronic. Unitronic claims on a stage 1 tune for a GTI, they claim 297 horsepower to the crank. And for a stage 2, they're claiming 337 horsepower to the crank. So on a stage 2, you should realistically be putting down over 300 wheel horsepower. With that drivetrain loss and everything like that, you should still be above that 300 mark, but you're not going to be well above it or anything like that. You're going to be right there around that. And if you're driving a Golf R, Unitronic claims 355 horsepower to the crank for a stage 1, and for a stage 2 they claim 397 horsepower to the crank. Not crazy numbers or anything like that. Like I said, and like many people know just from Unitronic's history, they play it rather conservative, and that is a smart thing to do. It's smart to be conservative whenever you're using a one tune fits all. So you don't want to be pushing anyone's car to the limit or anything like that, and especially whenever you know that you likely have people that aren't using all the recommended hardware whenever they're flashing to stage 2. A lot of people just throw a downpipe in an intake and just go in and flash stage 2. I know I did it, so that's why they have a more conservative tune, because, well, they don't customize it to your car, so for that reason, they just try to play it safe. So we've covered horsepower for Unitronic, now let's cover cost. So a stage 1 tune from them is going to be $650. A stage 2 tune, $750. Like integrated engineering though, you only have to pay the difference whenever you're going from a stage 1 to a stage 2, or even beyond that. Now, one good thing about Unitronic as well is that they do have Unitronic dealers. You do not have to buy the Uniconnect cable if you want to be able to get their tunes. You can actually go to a local authorized dealer and they will flash the car for you. That can save you about $70 in the end. It's not going to save you a whole lot because the Uniconnect cable is only 150 bucks. They're going to charge you about $70 at the dealership, and if you ever need to revert it, they're going to charge you another 70 bucks. So you're better off just getting the cable, be able to flash at your house. It's not very hard to figure out. In total though, Unitronic is the most expensive one on our list today, and if you wanted to go with a stage 2 package from them with their TCU DSG tunes and as well as their Uniconnect cable, it's going to cost you $1,600 to do that. Now, if you do not need the TCU tune from Unitronic, you can actually get away with getting their tune, their ECU tune, for $900 with that Uniconnect cable. So EQT, everyone knows who EQT is. They're a great company. They have been killing it here recently in the market. They're also been really innovative in the market as well. I'm not gonna lie, they've been putting out some really good parts. I've got several of their parts on my car. I actually use their TCU tune as well. But that is something that we're going to be talking about. And so let's just jump right into the power numbers for EQT. So stage 1, this is going to be range numbers. So this is going to be the difference between these flash it and forget it style tunes. These dogs. So that's going to be the difference between these flash and forget it style tunes and these cob access port tunes. These ones are much more custom. And because they are not going to be a general one fits all kind of tune, you're going to have a power range. Sorry if you guys can see my dog running back and forth in the background. My neighbor's dogs, I'll tell you what, I don't know if any of you guys got the neighbors that dogs just bark obsessively, but it makes me want to buy my own bark collar for them. But let's get back into this video. So EQT, their power range that they're claiming for stage 1 is going to be anywhere from 270 wheel horsepower up to 310 wheel horsepower. And yes, I did say wheel. So this is the difference between the companies. So whenever you go over to the Pro Tune route or to the more custom style tunes, they are going to give you guys more power. I mean, they're going to really be trying to maximize your car, and no car is going to be the same. So that's why they have these ranges. So that's what you can expect out of a stage 1 GTI or IS20 car. For a Golf R or an IS38 car, you can expect anywhere from 300 to 360 wheel horsepower out of that car. And on a stage 2 tune for the GTI, you can expect anywhere from 300 to 340 wheel horsepower out of that car, and that is obviously depending on fueling and everything like that. I mean, they offer E30, E85, everything like that. But nonetheless, that's the power ranges that you can expect off of a stage 2 tune. And then for the Golf R, it's going to be anywhere from 330 horsepower up to 390 horsepower for the Golf R. So obviously all based off fueling and tunes and everything like that, and all the hardware that you have on your car. But nonetheless, that is what you are capable of getting, and even sometimes they're a little bit higher, but you know what, it's safer just not to advertise the super high numbers whenever it's more consistently what they do advertise. And now cost-wise, everyone knows if you go EQT, you're gonna need yourself a cob access port, and if you go SneekyTuned, you'll also need a cob access port. So this price is gonna be calculated into both of these, and the cob access port, no matter where you get it, it's basically $695, okay? So a $695 access port, and then you're going to need to get yourself a tune. And If you were just purchasing a tune from EQT, it's going to be $175. That is for their ECU tunes or their TCU tunes, and that is for their staged, so stage 1 or stage 2 ECU and TCU tunes. If you were to go through EQT and get yourself a cob access port that's DSG enabled, as well as an EQT DSG tune and an EQT ECU tune, that is going to run you $1,450, and that is with the DSG option. So now, if you do not opt for the DSG and you drive a manual and you do not need that or anything like that, that's going to automatically save you $575, okay? So that is a pretty good chunk of money, although you could likely put that, go on ahead, put that towards the clutch fund for you guys. That would, in total though, be a cost of $870 for all of you manual people. And now for SneekyTuned, the last one that we're going to be speaking about. SneekyTuned also does custom tunes and doesn't quite do stages, honestly. He doesn't really label his tunes as stages. It's just all custom to whatever modification list you have. So for a SneekyTuned, like I said, you're going to need that $695 cob access port, and then if you're going to need it DSG as well, you're going to have to get that DSG enabled for an extra $400, and then that's where you run into an issue with SneekyTuned. Well, he does not offer a TCU tune. So I am SneekyTuned. I use him for my ECU tunes. I have been for over a year now, but I also do run the EQT TCU tune. So I have to pair those two together. I personally don't have any issue with it. Some people complain here and there, but in the end, they're not made by the exact same company. They're not gonna work completely flawlessly together, but they work very, very well together. Into what SneekyTuned advertises as far as power numbers, because he doesn't offer stages and everything's kind of custom, he just basically lists power specs based off of what turbo you have. For the IS20 turbo, the GTI turbo, you can expect anywhere from 285 wheel horsepower up to 370 wheel horsepower. And that is going to be on a full E85 car, obviously, for the 370, but it is possible. I've seen the dyno sheets of it, and you definitely get some cars moving. And now for the Golf R, or for the IS38 turbo, you can expect anywhere from 330 wheel horsepower up to 430 wheel horsepower. And again, this is all going to be based off of fueling. Now let's talk about price for SneekyTuned. SneekyTuned's tunes, if you just want to go buy his tune and you've already got yourself a cob access port, it's going to be a $200 tune, okay? Like I said, no TCU tune, only the ECU option, so $200 for an ECU tune. But if you do go through SneekyTuned to get your access port and you pair that together, the $200 tune becomes a $100 tune, and just to kind of help out with that cost. So if you decided to do that with the access port and without a DSG enabled access port, that's going to cost you $795 before taxes. If you are DSG and you're going to have to get a TCU tune, you're best off getting your cob access port DSG enabled whenever you purchase it, just to avoid any extra hassle. And then you're going to need to take yourself likely to EQT and get yourself a TCU tune. But that is going to be the cost for SneekyTuned with the DSG enabled and his tune, plus the $175 DSG tune from, DSG tune from EQT. You're gonna be looking at a price of $1,375 in total. So to the final question, which tune is right for you? Well, it's really gonna come down to personal preference. Are you looking for a flash it and forget it style tune? Are you relatively new and don't wanna have to deal with kind of worrying and monitoring your cob access port? Or are you looking to really be able to monitor the health of your car and you want to have that access port to be able to kind of see all the different parameters and everything like that? Well, then you're probably going to want to go that route, but you know, it really comes down to personal preference. I've ran Unitronic. I liked it. I was a big fan of it, but it wasn't enough power for me. It was a bit too conservative, and I knew I was looking to go and end up upgrading my turbo eventually like we have now. And with my hybrid turbo that I have in the car and the SneekyTuned that I'm running, I really couldn't be happier. But nonetheless, that's the information that I have to share with you guys. I really hope that you found it helpful. If you did, make sure you smash that like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll catch you next week.